Hey guys, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Mastering the Wedding Photography Biz.
I'm Hunter.
And I'm Sarah.
And if you feel like you are chained to your social media accounts for hours a day just because you're a portrait or wedding photographer, we promise there really is a better way.
It is no secret that social media can have a negative impact on our mental health. So if you want a better way to use Instagram for photographers, here is some advice that we often give our students.
So at the end of the day, it's really important to remember that social media is a tool, just like your website or your camera. It's something you can use to help yourself and further your business, or to hinder yourself and negatively impact your business. But most of us really don't think that critically about social media and just let it sort of run our lives or negatively impact our mental health without even realizing it.
Hunter and I are pretty sure we are not the only ones who have found ourselves just like mindlessly scrolling through social media and just slowly feeling more and more just crummy about ourselves, our lives, and our business. Especially, myself, and for women, the pressure to be this perfect business owner, the perfect wife, and have the perfect body and the perfect skin, and just these unrealistic yet competing expectations for women can be completely suffocating at times.
And even if your social media isn't negatively impacting your mental health, it can still be a huge sink where you just waste a ton of time. Time that you could spend improving your business or doing things you actually love, like spending time with loved ones, getting out into nature, or exploring your hobbies.
And while putting a limit on how much time you allow yourself to spend on social media can be healthy, it can often be really hard to enforce on ourselves when we just want to keep scrolling. We think it's fun.
So today we are going to focus on the 4 kinds of people or accounts who you should be following, and the 4 kinds of people or accounts that you should basically unfollow right away.
So the first kind of person that you should follow is really what we think the most obvious. These are the people that you actually truly care about, whose life updates bring you joy. And this is the most obvious category because these are your close friends, these are your family members, these are the people whose, vacation photos and pictures of their pets or kids or home projects make you smile.
This, honestly, is social media at its best, allowing us to stay connected with friends and family who we otherwise wouldn't see all that often, so that when we do run into them again at a wedding or over the holidays, we're not completely out of the loop as to what's going on in their lives. And plus, the occasional comment or reply to their post or their story or whatever reminds them that we are still a part of their lives.
Now, the second kind of person you should follow are people who you identify as your ideal client and you could end up photographing one day. So maybe you don't really see yourself hanging out with that group of high school friends again and you haven't talked with them in years, but if half of them are in serious relationships and you are a wedding photographer, it might be worth keeping up with them.
In our marketing and advertising workshop for photographers, which you can learn more about up here, we talked a lot about how your personal network can be incredibly powerful for your photography business, especially in the early days. And so another example, if you're a family photographer, it might make sense to continue, following and interacting with that group of people who you might not otherwise be that close with, but who all have young families and who seem like they all are a great fit as your ideal client.
The third type of account that you should follow are high-end photographers who you look to for inspiration. If you went and got a degree in, photography from an art school, you would spend 80% of your time doing one of 2 things: looking at the work of famous photographers who are way better than you, and getting out and practicing yourself.
And so we are not at all saying that scrolling Instagram is somehow a replacement for formal training or going to school or anything like that. But we're just saying you can sort of bootleg some of the principles from formal training, one of the most important ones is look at people who are better than you, look at their craft, look at the work they produce, and use that as inspiration for your own work. If your feed was filled mostly with super high-end luxury wedding photographers or luxury high-end portrait photographers, your work would naturally get better over time because you're constantly being inspired.
And notice we say inspiration, not people who make you feel guilty or make you feel like you're not doing a good job.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
I know, but I like to point that in there. And we also don't mean to follow this photographer in your town who charges like $500 more than you. We mean find a list of the best photographers in the world and go follow them. Pay attention to what others are doing at the highest caliber and think about how you can incorporate that into your own work.
And finally, the 4th kind of person or account who we think you should follow on social media are other local vendors who you want to network with. Network marketing was another strategy that we talked about in our marketing and advertising workshop for portrait and wedding photographers. And that was the workshop I mentioned a minute ago. And it usually starts with social media by following people and beginning to interact with them there.
Now, this is not only going to help you stay on top of what's happening in your local market, but will give you an opportunity to get and stay on the radar of other local wedding vendors who you want to network with.
Or complementary businesses if you're a portrait photographer.
Yeah.
Now, let's pivot here, and we're going to talk about, really from a mental health standpoint more than anything, which accounts or people you should really strongly consider unfollowing right away. And so the first are photographers who are like right around your own level. They're not so far ahead of you that you're going to like learn a ton and be inspired by their work. And they're close enough to where you are that your heart sort of fills with envy or bitterness or sadness every time you see them succeeding.
Guys, sure. It would be awesome if we could all look at our peers and celebrate their success.
If we were all perfectly emotionally healthy and
Yeah.
well-balanced people, sure, that would be great.
That'd be great. But especially when we are in a challenging season ourselves, the worst part of our human nature of like bitterness and envy and jealousy can tend to rear their ugly heads, ruining our day every time that photographer in our town who charges the same as us is out shooting a beautiful session or our wedding day.
Now, the next kind of person who you should consider unfollowing are all of those acquaintances that you just like don't really care that much about anymore. Sure, might sound kind of callous, but how important is it that you get life updates from like that old friend from middle school or high school or college, or that coworker from a job that you left years ago? Sure, maybe you were close at one point, but if you're not anymore and you don't care that much, like, you know.
If you do not see them as a potential ideal client for you, it might be best to just clean up your feed by unfollowing them. And this goes double if they frequently post content that makes you upset. Even if it's just because you find their content annoying or you disagree with what they post, it doesn't matter. It is your social media feed, and there is no point in filling it with people you don't really like.
Now, the third kind of account that you should strongly consider unfollowing is literally anyone who makes you feel bad about yourself when you see their content. We all have those accounts that we follow whose perfect lives or their perfect health or their perfect bodies just make us feel like garbage about ourselves. And even if one of those people falls into one of those earlier categories we said you should follow, like a close friend or family member or a potential ideal client, if seeing their content negatively affects your mental health, just unfollow them. We're giving you permission. Just do it.
And finally, we would recommend unfollowing any like influencers who aren't actually making your life better, because ultimately influencers are trying to sell you something.
Now, what we didn't say was you should unfollow all influencers, right? If you follow some who post content that is great and you enjoy seeing it, or it makes you laugh, or if they help you find products and services that genuinely benefit your life or your business, then that's totally fine. Like, we hope you're following us, but we know that that is definitely not the case for all influencers.
But hopefully this video has given you the excuse that you need to clean up your feed and make what time you do spend on social media just a more pleasant experience.
But if you feel like you're still struggling with your mindset as a photographer and a business owner, we'd encourage you to check out a video that we posted earlier this year. The link is up here, where we talk about mindset and how it can be one of the biggest challenges that holds back many photographers from success.
That's it for this week.
Guys, thank you for watching. If you want more great content like this delivered directly to your inbox, then use the link in the description below to sign up for our 4 Photographers newsletter.
When you sign up, we are going to send you a copy of our ebook, 5 Essential Tips for Turning Your Side Hustle into a Full-Time Photography Business, just as a free gift to you.
And of course, please like, subscribe, and comment below if you have any questions.
But we'll see you next week.